after marriage, again, she's even more ostracized. So, I was talking about the whole issue of reproductive rights from the from the viewpoint of all the three: menses, maternity, and menopause, and the way the policies have been devised. And if you look at the indigenous communities, I've never seen a single indigenous community anywhere in the world which has suffered from population explosion or from a population mortality and population trap. Never, not even once. Whereas around the 1950s, the population in India is only what do you call in this thing? It was like 300 million. In less than 70 years of independence, it has shot up to 1.5 billion, and the family planning program has been there for the last 70 years. So what does that say? So these are the issues that I was talking about from the point of view of India, where we have had to, as people working at the grassroots, have had to go through and face a lot in terms of dealing with issues. I mean, women's issues. Yeah. Thanks,
Suresh. Thank you.
Thanks, Suresh.
Can I just make a quick point on that? Is just in terms of the correlation between women learning to read and having less children, and you consider that 2/3 of the population, the illiterate population, are women, that's another enormous factor, or would appear to be another enormous factor in the population.
There's a fascinating article actually. It's one of my favourite articles to read by a woman called Lier Keith, Lierekeith, and it's called The Girls and the Grasses. And in the article, well, you'll have to read it for yourself. It's very, very beautifully written. And in the article, Lier talks mainly about the need to rewild our spaces. She's talking about grasses in the part of the world that she lives in, but she's also talking about how important it is to teach girls to read, and that if we were to teach girls to read, it would give them more opportunities in their lives, but also give them some connection with their own bodies, and perhaps even control over whether they married or had children. But yeah, so I would really recommend, to follow up from Suresh's comments, reading The Girls and the Grasses by Lier Keith. Yeah, I love it. Anyway, we're going to move on now because we've got more slides to go through, but we'll come back to questions again. Is that all right with you, Sue?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Am I still sharing my screen with you all?
It's there now. Yep.
Yeah. Okie doke. Lovely.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit more about gender gaps, climate change, and the impacts and how they exacerbate gender inequalities. So as you can see, there's poverty. Over 50% of the 1.5 billion living on $1 a day or less are women. On average, women and children spend 8 or more hours per day collecting water. And as climate breakdown continues and gets worse, all those tasks are going to be more difficult and probably a lot more dangerous. Globally, women are 16.7% of government ministers, 19.5% of parliamentarians, and 9% heads of state. And just to add on this as well, in terms of women representing, I'm a political candidate myself, and it's very popular to have women as representatives now. But what a lot of the parties will do is they will seek out female candidates who will be absolutely patriarchal in terms of the way they approach matters. So just to say, having a representation of women is vitally important, and a diversity of women, but it's also very important to have women representing that are actually representing women's rights from a feminist perspective, with the kind of motivation to break down the barriers that are damaging to women, which is not always the case